Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start then. You can communicate with me through the chat if you want. I hope I'll be able to see the chat. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go over what we did last week quickly, very, very quickly. So again, my email address to get copies of the slides, as we know. Okay, so we spoke about what Windows 10 was, and we went through some of the keyboard shortcuts that you can do, which seems to be a strange place to start with Windows, to start on the old keyboard, but Windows does allow us to do some really clever things with the keyboard that most people don't even know exist. So remember, we discussed using the control key, which is over here in the bottom left-hand corner. And you can then do control and together Z, X, C, and V, and even B, right? So control B is bold. It will allow you to bold text. Control C for cat allows you to copy the text to the clipboard, which is that temporary storage sort of inside your computer. You can actually see it, although we'll see how we can now see it. Control V with the arrow pointing down is to bring it back, paste it back from the clipboard. So you can copy anything to the clipboard and then paste it back. Control X is the same as Control C, copies it to the clipboard, but then X looks like a scissor and it deletes it from where it was before. And then Control Z for zebra, very useful key. That's the undo key or the oops key. So if you've done something, you've deleted something, you've inserted something in the wrong place, you've done something that you really didn't mean to do, or you suddenly realized was incorrect, or you've changed your mind, if you type Control Z, the immediately preceding thing that you did is undone, and it puts it back exactly where it was. So if you deleted some text, or you deleted a whole page even, and you say Control Z, that whole page will come back. If you moved some text and you copied it into the wrong place and you didn't want to do it there, well, of course, you could delete it and redo it, but the quicker way is just Control Z and you're right back to where you were. And Control Z actually works multiple times. So if you hit Control Z again, then what you did 2 times ago will now be undone. And I don't know how far back it can go, but obviously you don't want to go too far back, then you sort of can't figure out what you were doing, right? But it will go back at least 2 or 3. So if I deleted something, added something, and then deleted something again, the first Control Z will undelete what I just deleted. Second time I press Control Z, where I added something will disappear now. It won't be there anymore. And if I press Control Z again, then the first one, which I think was a delete, would also appear back again. So usually, I can't imagine very often that one needs more than one, right? Just, oh my goodness, what did I just do? Well, I don't want to do that, right? I've changed my mind. I've decided there's a better place to put that paragraph. So I hope you've been able to test it out. It's really, really easy to do. Very, very simple process. And I'm happy to show you, if you wish. We can actually go to Word, Microsoft Word, or an email, and we can do the copy and paste. But it's really very, very simple. So if you've tried it, it almost certainly worked first time. And remember, if you wish to see, so we'll just skip ahead here. If you wish to see what's in the clipboard, then all you have to do is press Control. There it is at the bottom. Control and V. Excuse me. Next one. Yeah. Press the Windows key and V, not Control and V. It's a bit confusing. Just confused myself there. So Control V for Victor is paste it back, bring it back. But the Windows key and V, not the Control key, but the Windows, the one that's right next to the Control key, between the Control and the Alt. It's the little key with the Microsoft flag on it. That will show you the clipboard. And that's at 3%. And so you can at any time see what's in your clipboard, and you can scroll up and down. You can see all of the entries. You can have as many entries in there as you like. It usually only shows you 2 or 3. I've got it open now on my screen. You probably can't see it, but I've got open 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, right? That shows you as much as it can fit in. So the example I've got on the slide is just got 2, the one with some text in that says clipboard on Windows 10 rocks, and then the picture. But over here in the real one, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly 5. And so you can point at any one of them you like. Put your cursor where you want to go. So if I wanted to copy it into this position here, into this blank place, let's say on the PowerPoint presentation, all I would do is put my cursor down there, wherever I wanted, where that new bullet just appeared. And then if I opened up the clipboard and just clicked on one of the entries that I can see, don't even have to click on the top one. Let's say I wanted to copy back or paste back something that I copied 2 items ago. Go to the third one down and just click on it, and instantly it will appear in the place where you want it to do. So and like I said, it's hard to see over here, but there's actually that thin gray line is a scroll bar. And so when you look at it, you'll see that there's a little gray bar, very small on the side. And when you point at it, it sort of opens up. I don't know why it isn't fully open all the time, but you can see on the screen there, it's kind of a thin gray bar. When you point at it, it actually opens up, and then there's a dark gray blob, rectangle, and that's the scroll bar itself. So you can point at that, hold the left mouse down, which grabs something, and you can now, what I'm doing is moving it up and down, and it moves up and down, and you can see all the stuff that you copied, and you can copy. I don't know if there's a limit on it, but I've never found the limit. So, you can copy infinitely. You might as well delete them from time to time. And what you'll actually see is in your clipboard, if you do the clipboard, Windows key V for Victor, next to each entry, there's 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner. And if you just point to the little dots and click on that, a little menu opens up. And it says delete, pin, or clear all. Clear all will clear everything out. So I'm going to do that now. Clear all, bingo, my clipboard is now empty. Or you could simply just delete, the second entry is delete, and it will delete that one entry. So you can delete one by one, or you can clear the whole darn thing out, and my clipboard is now empty. And as soon as I copy something to the clipboard, it will appear again. And it will start all over again. So it's a very useful place to store information. And like I say, if you want to, you can keep stuff that you often need. It could be phone numbers. For example, the link to this presentation, to my presentations, there's a long link that you have to copy in because, our schedule's all screwed up, or the Fulton County schedule screwed and it doesn't work properly. Well, I don't even use that. I just have the link, and I really should teach people to do this, I guess, in the Windows class, this class. Just copy the link from the schedule. So now we can actually copy the link from the schedule, right? In other words, go to the schedule, highlight the whole link, and we know how to do that now. Put your cursor at the beginning, hold the left mouse button down, and just drag across the whole thing, right? And when you lift your finger off the left button, the item that you've highlighted now will be in a slightly different color. It's either going to be change the background and be white on black, or on some versions it goes blue, and you can now say Control-C and it'll copy it, and you've got it now permanently, right? So next week, let's say when you come back, you don't even have to look at the schedule. You can just go to your clipboard, point at that entry, which may no longer be the first entry. Maybe you've copied a whole lot of other stuff to the clipboard. So point at that entry that has got this long gobbledygook URL, we call it, address, which starts with zoom.us, zoom US, and a whole lot of stuff behind it, and it'll copy it in, and you open your browser, you point at the address bar at the top, and you then go Control V, which Windows V, which brings up your clipboard. Find the entry, the one that you want. You can keep it at the top if you wish, or let it go down a little bit, doesn't matter. Find it, point at it, and as long as your cursor was in that address bar, it'll magically appear there. It'll just paste it in from the clipboard into the address bar, and then all you have to do is hit enter, and you can be into my session. So that's how I do it, right? Exactly how I do it. I don't bother with the schedule. But that said, I finally got them to fix the schedule. They tested it out today. They tell me that yes, it was a mistake, although they've been telling us all the time, it works for me, it works for me. Well, yesterday I actually went and tested it myself finally, and it didn't work for me. So if I took the schedule yesterday, I couldn't get into my own class because the link didn't work, right? Which is why I had noticed it before, because I wasn't using the schedule. I was using a much easier method, which was copy the link into the clipboard, and then it's always there. You just got to bring it down. Like I say, anything you want to remember, you can put in there. It's the most useful play. You can put in addresses. You know, let's say you go to 3 different doctors, and don't even have to write the addresses down anymore. So what you can do is, if you had the address in a Word document or in a text or whatever, you can copy it from there into the clipboard. And at any instant in time, just by pressing Windows key and V, you can see, there's Dr. Smith's address, Dr. Jones' address, Dr. Smith's at Emory, Dr. Jones is at Northside, and the other doctor is somewhere else, right? Doesn't matter, right? You can keep any kind of addresses, phone numbers, whatever, any information you like can be kept in there. And I use it all the time. It's really very valuable piece of real estate that they've provided for us. Okay. Then I want to go on to the Windows desktop. So today we'll talk a little bit about the desktop. So typically when you start Windows up, you see your desktop. And initially, the desktop is pretty much empty, right? It may have a few entries in. So one of the things that's gone on the desktop, you'll see here in the top left-hand corner, looks like a little trash can, right? You look at it, it looks like a teeny-weeny trash can, and it says underneath it, recycle bin. I don't know why they don't just call it the trash can. That's where anything you deleted lands up. So when you delete something, whether it's a paragraph or an email or whatever, anything you delete lands up in the recycle bin, they call it, or the trash can. And this is a very useful trash can because you can actually go look at it and you can bring stuff back if you want, right? So very few people know this, but if you now go and click on the trash can or the recycle bin, that recycle bin in the top left-hand corner, it may not be in the top left-hand corner on your particular Windows desktop, but it'll be somewhere over there. You can find it. For some reason, Microsoft has chosen not to arrange the desktop in any meaningful order, right? It's not in alphabetic order or date order, just random, but you can move stuff around. So I've rearranged my desktop so that it's more meaningful for me. But somewhere in there will be the recycle bin, and just by double clicking on it, it will show you all the stuff you've deleted. And as long as it hasn't been overwritten yet by a new record, by something new, if it's still in the recycle bin, Windows will be able to bring it back. So very often when you've lost something or deleted something accidentally, it may well still be in the recycle bin, and you can always go and get it back. So now the issue is, what are all these funny pictures on the desktop? So they call it the desktop because this is kind of like your desk, right? This is where you start your day, right? But it's not that everything is on the desktop. As we'll see, there are better places to put stuff. But the desktop usually consists of these pictures. We call them icons or apps. So each one of those represents either an app, a program that does something for you, like Microsoft Word or email or whatever, or it represents files, places where you keep information. So the way you tell the difference, if you look on this very confusing desktop, and I don't suggest anybody have as many things as this on the desktop. There's a better way to save your information, but I do mention it now because many people keep most of their stuff on the desktop. which is a bit messy. It's kind of like keeping all your papers in a big pile on your desk, right? And then you have to go and look for them. A much better way to keep your information is to put it in files, right? In manila files or some kind of filing system that you can label your file, pictures of the grandchildren and pictures of the wedding and accounts and receipts and all, tax records and whatever. You'd have separate files for each one. Most of us have some version of that. Probably don't tend to keep everything in a big pile on your desk, which you have to dig through. And that's the same equivalent here. There's too much on the desktop. But that said, let's look a little more carefully at the desktop. And if you look carefully at the screen, you'll see there are actually two kinds of pictures. And the difference is very subtle. The one, like this one over here, which says computer, can you see it says computer in the first item in the second row? It's got a picture of a computer and it says underneath it computer, but you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner of the picture is a little arrow, a blue arrow, sort of curved blue arrow. If you look at the one below it, that looks like a fire, it's got a curved blue arrow. The one below that, the first one in the fourth row, says Adobe Reader. If you can see that, it's got the red little sort of red square with an kind of a stylized A on it for Adobe. It's also got a little arrow. So the ones with a little arrow are programs. They're what we call apps on your phone, right? Things that do something for you. So if you double click on that, the one in the fourth row that says Adobe Reader, if you double clicked on it, what that arrow means is you're telling Windows, I want to use this app. Please go and get it for me. And instantly Windows will go and find Adobe app, Adobe Reader, wherever it might be on the computer, and the app will open up. And Adobe Reader is a special piece of free software that this company, Adobe, created many years ago, which is for special kind of documents called PDF, which originally stood for personal data format, but now it doesn't mean anything, it's just PDF. And you'll see, for example, when I send you the slides, I send them to you in a PDF format. And the beauty of the PDF format is it can't be changed. So that was very useful if people were sending documents around. Now, not important documents, say legal documents or receipts or stuff like that, you wouldn't want it to be changed, right? If somebody intercepted it on the way, if somebody at Gmail, if you're sending it in your Gmail, and there's some guy at Gmail in the data center and he happens to see your records and he sees you're sending some sensitive information to your doctor or a legal contract, you don't want anybody to be able to change it, get into the contract and change the price or some clause, delete a line or something. So a PDF document can't be changed. It's kind of like a contract. When we have contracts, they are been typed up and they signed, every page is signed, and I can't change it, right? It would be very difficult to change it because I'd have to forge all the signatures and so on. With PDF, it's even more important or more effective because it literally cannot be changed. Okay, so you'll see that there's a whole lot of them with little arrows, right? So if you look at the second line from the bottom, first entry, looks like a little traffic cone, orange traffic cone, and it says under it VLC Media Player, and you'll see the little blue arrow. So if I click on that or double click, the VLC Media Player will open up. What does that mean? VLC is just some name of some program. Media Player means it plays videos and music, right? So if you have a video on your computer, you need a special piece of software. It has to know which piece of software to use. And that is, in this particular case, the VLC Media Player, right? It's one of the various pieces of software that's able to read a video and then replay a video for you. Now, the ones that don't have the arrow, and for example, look on the bottom row, the third one from the left, right? You can see that it actually looks like a Word document, right? And it's very small, but it says it's got a name, so that below it would be the name of whatever that document is. So in fact, it's not a Word document, excuse me, it's a PDF. So you'll see it says UPES, if you can read it, .pdf. So it's some document called UPES, whatever that means, .pdf. So somewhere in the past, I created this document, converted it to a PDF. And now if I simply double click on it, it will automatically link the PDF to that Adobe Reader. So it says, Windows says PDF. I know what that is. It's Adobe. And it will open Adobe for you, open the document in Adobe, and you can read the document, and it's all instantaneous and painless. If you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth line down, and the third one from the left, you can see it says raindown.docx, and it's got a big W. It looks like a document. You can see lines on a piece of paper with a W. That one is actually Microsoft Word. So if I double click on that, notice there's no arrow. It's just a document. It's some kind of file. We call it a file. If I double click on it, Windows will say, well, you want to see this document. What is it? It's a Word document. It will go find wherever Microsoft Word happens to be on your computer. It will open Microsoft Word, open that document instantaneously, and you'll be able to see the document. There's a whole lot of other documents out there. The second line from the bottom, the third one in, right? You'll see a document with a P on it. Second line from the bottom, third one from the left, P. And P there is PowerPoint, which is exactly what I use to make these slides. It's Microsoft Office's program that allows you to do these kind of presentations, PowerPoint. So if I clicked on that document or double click, my Windows 10 will automatically open PowerPoint. You can also have folders in there. So you'll see the third one from the bottom, first entry, you can see it looks like an open folder. And underneath it, it says images, which means pictures. So a lot of pictures, some level of, I don't know, maybe my own personal pictures, or it could be work pictures or something like that, is in this folder. You can see it looks like an open folder. And if you click on it, it will open that folder and allow you to look at one or more of the documents or photographs that's inside. If you look at the second line from the bottom, the second one from the left, you'll see a folder there as well that's open. And underneath it, it says Docs. Docs is short for documents. That's where all my documents are. So Windows automatically puts all your documents together in kind of one big folder called Docs. And then under Docs, you can create your own folders. You can create subfolders. So a folder can contain further folders. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. So let's look at, for example, on the second line from the top and the second one in, right? And you can see there, it's a circle with 4 colors on it, yellow, red, green, and blue, right? And anything with 4 colors is usually Google, some software from Google. And there's a little arrow. You see the blue arrow? The blue arrow tells me that is an app, a program. And what is that program? Well, underneath it, it actually has the words Google Chrome. And that's Chrome, the browser. So if I double click on that, Chrome will open up, right? So you can see that it's very easy to see what you've got on your desktop, which are programs, which are documents. You could separate them if you wish, put the programs on the left, put the documents on the right, or any way you like. But in general, it's not a good idea to keep important stuff on the desktop, because after a while it's hard to find. It's difficult to find stuff on it. It's kind of a, like a pile of papers on your desk. And we're gonna soon see now in a few minutes a better way to do it. So that's the desktop, and you can have as many of these as you like, and you can move them around. So again, let's think to ourselves, if I wanted to move these items around, I wanted to put all the apps on the left and all the documents on the right, or vice versa, I can move them around. All I got to do is point at an icon, at one of these pictures, point at it, hold down the left button. Remember I said to you, when you hold down the left mouse button, you're grabbing something. It's kind of, imagine your hand is going out and grabbing it. So if I pointed at this Google Chrome, hold down the left mouse button, and I can then, I can then grab it, hold it down, and drag it to anywhere else on the screen that I want. I can drag it to the right, to the bottom, anywhere else on the screen. So this is kind of equivalent to the apps on your phone, except on your phone, you tend not to have documents there. You just have apps, and then you use the app to find the documents. Microsoft Windows 10 is more sophisticated than that. It allows you to have apps as well as documents, and you can mix and match them any way you like. But like I say, the way it's done here, I purposely have done it like this because it's confusing, right? It's you can see it's not a great way to keep the information, but we'll see a better way in a moment. So these are all the files and apps that are stored on the desktop. I also want you to see the blue bar at the bottom. So when you start up your Microsoft Windows 10, there's usually a blue bar on the bottom, and that's called the taskbar. They give it the name the taskbar. And it's quite a clever idea from Microsoft. On the taskbar are all the, will show all the apps that are currently running, right? On your phone, if you know how to do it, you can also see all the apps that are currently running. You can have many apps running. Only one is active at one instance in time, but you can switch between the apps. Same on your phone. You can have your browser open, and you can have your email open, and so on, right? WhatsApp open, you can have them all open at the same time. And mostly you don't even notice it that you are doing multiple apps. And then instead of having to close apps out and go back to them, just leave them open, right? It doesn't cost anything, right? Leave them open. So on that, that blue bar at the bottom are all the apps that are currently running. You will see them. So if an app is currently running, it will have a little icon down at the bottom there. And under the icon will be a blue line. And the blue line means that icon is working. It's that program is running right now. So if you look on the screen, let's say the third one from the left on the very bottom line, you can see is Chrome. You can see the color, right? The four colors, the little circle with the four colors, and that's Chrome. How do I get back to Chrome? Let's say I've gone away, I've gone to the desktop now. We're at the desktop, but now I want to go back to Chrome because I want to go back to Amazon. I was shopping on Amazon and I've got to spend money, right? So I want to get back to Amazon. No problem. You just click on that, on the icon on the bottom row, and bingo, you jump back to Amazon, right? And it's exactly the way you would do it on your phone. You come to either the iPhone course or the Android course, and we'll see how to do that on the phone slightly differently, but not too different, that you can have multiple apps and you can jump between them and just leave them open. In most cases, it doesn't matter. It doesn't cost anything. So don't even close out. I leave my browser like Google Chrome, I leave it open all the time, right? So whenever I go back to group, if I now click on this Chrome, it'll take me right back to where I was before. I might have had the news open at CNN, but I also had Amazon open in a different tab, and I can have as many tabs as I like. I'm lazy. I just leave them open, right? It doesn't cost anything. Doesn't slow the computer down very much, and provided you've got enough memory, there's almost no limit to how many of those you can have. So you can see that I've got about one. It's on the bottom row. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little pictures. Don't worry about them right now, what they are. And the ones that I want to keep, the ones that I use a lot, I can actually tell Microsoft to keep it on the taskbar. And the way we do that is very, very simple. Let's say I've started up Chrome, and you see Chrome's picture is there, the third from the left and the bottom, the color. If I right click on it, not left, but now point at it and press the right, click the right button on your mouse. So use this finger, the second finger, click that one. Normally, everywhere in Windows, click the left button is when you, and hold it down means you want to. Well, click the left button and don't hold it down means you want to run something. So click on one of these icons and it will start to work. Click the left mouse button and hold it down means I want to grab something. So like a scroll bar, I can point to a scroll bar, and the scroll bars are all over the show. There's scroll bars in Microsoft Word, there's scroll bars in PowerPoint, there's scroll bars in email, and so on. You can scroll up and down. Of course, you could just use your arrow keys, but I find it easier with the mouse. Just point to the scroll bar, as I explained to you with the clipboard. Click your left mouse button and hold it, and now you can drag it up and down. But like I said, down here at the bottom, if you right click, not left click, right click inevitably opens up a new little menu. So there's more things that you can do. So if you point at one of these icons and right click, so you just point at it with your cursor, right click, a little menu will open up. And there's a few things you can do. You can close that app out. Let's say I do want to close out, let's say Chrome. I don't have to go to Chrome and, you know, click in the top right hand corner on the X or anything. I just right click there and it'll give me the option to close it, and I can close it out. But there's also a very useful option that says pin, P-I-N. And what that is really means is, imagine a thumbtack, right? Imagine you've got one of those push pins that you can put into a whiteboard or something, or a cork board, like you would keep a piece of paper, or like I've got some pictures up behind me. They're thumbtacks, you know, there's a little thumbtack. That's the equivalent. Pin it means keep it here. So even if I turn off the computer and then I turn it on again, Chrome will still be there, right? It'll stay there. So I never have to go and look for Chrome. Whereas if I left everything on the desktop, which we've got there, you can see a bit confusing to go find out where Chrome is. It would obviously be better to have the programs on the left and the files on the right, or the other way around, separate them in some way. But I still got to go look for it. It's much easier that what we call our favorite apps, that's why this is called favorites, our favorite apps, we keep them down there. And actually you can have as many as you like. If it doesn't fit on that one line, it'll make it 2 lines, but it doesn't matter. Mostly you don't need more than 2 or 3 or 4 favorite apps, so it's not going to take up a lot of space. So it's very, very useful as well. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, the right-hand side of that taskbar, there are a bunch of very teeny little icons, which are quite hard to read because they're so small. And I just want to mention them for you. Right. So the first one, in the bottom right-hand corner of your Windows 10, you'll see the date and the time, right? It'll say it's 10:15 a.m. on November the 15th, 2020, right? And if you click on that, a little icon will pop up. It'll allow you to do various things. It'll allow you to change the date and time. If for some reason you have to change the date and time, let's say you go to a new time zone, mostly it automatically resets to the new time zone. But if it doesn't, you can click on that and change the time or change the date if somehow the date is wrong on your computer. Usually it's always right, even in leap years, February the 29th and so on. It figures that out itself. But you can go to the date and time, and you'll also see a little calendar. So, if you're on the phone now, I've just called you, you want to make a date to meet for lunch or coffee, please God, one of these days we'll all be able to do that again with the vaccine. Well, instead of, having to go into your manual address, a calendar or address book, or go and look at it in your email, it's got a calendar associated with email. Windows gives you a calendar right there, and you can scroll through. You can go back to last month. You can go to November, December, January, and you can see. Oh yeah, I did that this morning. My doctor called me. I got to go for a checkup. I just looked at my little calendar and said, "Yep, I can come on, December the 3rd or whatever. At what time have you got available? 9 a.m. Straight away, put the entry in, and I now got it in my calendar." So that, although most people don't even know that, the fact is, although it shows you the date and time, it's actually active. There's something you can do with it. You don't have to just look at it, but it allows you to change it as well. Then the next icon is it looks like a little microphone. You can see it on the second bullet there. Looks like a microphone with sound coming out of it. That is the audio level. Then the next one is this typical Wi-Fi icon. It looks like, it used to be bars, but now they do it circular. And the bottom one is the battery, right? So those just tell you the status of things on your computer. So the first one is your speaker, right? So if your speaker was turned down right now, it might be turned off, which is why I couldn't hear you. If you just click on that icon, for example, that's just Windows. This shows me my speaker. It says on the right, it says 67, which means it's at 67% of maximum volume, which is quite loud. And you'll see it's got a little bar in the middle, a little blue bar. If you point at that blue bar, hold down the left mouse button, which means you are grabbing that little blue bar. You can move it left or right. You can make it softer if it's too loud, make it louder, move it to the right if it's too low. So on your computer, if you look at it right now, it may be set, it's possible that it's set down at 1% or somewhere right over on the left, much too soft. In other words, you were using a microphone, but I couldn't hear it because it was so soft. All you had to do is drag it back to the right, and you can move that any way you like. The second icon is your Wi-Fi, and it shows you what you're connected to. So if suddenly you can't get on the internet, it says I can't get to Amazon, I can't find CNN or whatever, it could well be that your Wi-Fi signal went down for a moment or two, or your router, that box you've got that's got your Wi-Fi in, went down. And here you can say, it'll show you're not connected to anything. But here it's actually telling me I am connected and secured. You can see it says they're connected and secured, and it's got the name of the network above, which happens to be my network. Your network will have a different name, but it'll show you which network you're connected to. If I go back to Benson tomorrow, let's say they open Benson up and I go there, my computer will automatically connect to the Benson network because now it's too far away from my house, and I will see the Benson icon there. It will have clicked to it. Or if I go to a Starbucks restaurant, Starbucks coffee place, they give you free Wi-Fi, and I would instantly connect to the free Wi-Fi, and it would show me there, it would say Starbucks or something like that. The next icon, the one that looks like a battery, that tells you how much battery you got in your laptop. The laptop's got a battery just like your phone has, although the battery doesn't last anything as long as in the phone because the computer's so much bigger and it's got so many more components, so it uses the battery up a lot faster. So even though the battery is enormous compared to the phone, your battery on your computer will typically only last a few hours, 2, 3, 4 hours, if you're lucky. So it's not like your phone, which will go the whole day with a battery. Obviously, this is now saying it's 100% charged, but if you try and grab that little blue bar, nothing will happen because obviously you can't change the battery by moving a little blue bar. Okay, I'm going to just jump these things here. I'm not going to discuss shutting down the computer because, so let me just talk for a moment before we go ahead here about shutting your computer down. I've said this before, you've probably heard it. My general advice is don't shut the computer down. There's no need to turn off the power ever, right? Just leave the computer running all the time. In fact, it's like when you fly on an airplane. The dangerous times are takeoff and landing, the beginning and the end. The bit in the middle, the computer is flying the plane, the pilot's sitting drinking his coffee, right? And doing a crossword puzzle. If you ever look at, well, they don't let us in the cockpit anymore, but if you ever went into the cockpit in the old day, kind of scare you. The two pilots are sitting having a chat or doing a crossword puzzle or doing their homework or something, right? Because the computer's flying the plane and it's pretty much on level flight. So the dangerous times are the beginning and the end. Same thing exactly with your computer. The most wear on your computer is start up and shut down, right? That's the time that if you are going to kind of wear out the disk drive in any way, the storage, it would be at the start up and shut down. The good news is you never have to start up and shut it down. Don't bother to turn it off. Don't hold the power button down and turn it off. When you finished working for the day, or you want to go for lunch or something, or you're just done, just close the computer, just close the laptop. And Windows, in the old days, you might lose everything that you were doing. New Windows 10 is much smarter than that. And if you're in the middle of a document, or you're doing a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation or an email or something, it will save everything to disk and close it out. And then when you open it up again, within a short time, 30 seconds or something like that, it'll restart everything up and get you back exactly where you were when you closed it out. So all the apps that were open when you close it out, even if you're in the middle of typing a Word document or in the middle of doing a big email, that will open up exactly where you were. Nothing will have been lost. So my general rule is don't close out a laptop. Just don't turn it off. Just close it. And when you close it, Windows knows, it detects the fact that you're closing, and it'll keep on running for 30 seconds or something while it shuts itself down rationally, saving all any information you hadn't saved and setting itself so that when you open up, when you lift up the cover again, Windows will ask you for your password, which you can key in, and then you're instantly back where you were, right? With all your browser pages still open, you've still got the page open to, I don't know, CNN or Fox News, whatever you want to watch, or Amazon if you were busy doing shopping or whatever you were doing, all those pages will still be there, right? And so that's the right way to do it. Or it's much more efficient and it's much quicker actually. Funny, it doesn't startup takes a while, you know, that goes through a whole lot of checking processes and so on when you power it down and you power it up. So the good news is don't power it down, just let it go. Right. Just keep it running, just close it out, close the top and start up again. So that's the sort of primary rule about shutdown. Okay, so now we're going to talk about storing our information. So basically, this looks very complicated and I'm going to skim through it. Windows stores information on or in what we call disk drives. The disk drive is something in your computer. In fact, if you put your ear to your laptop, and just listen for a few seconds, you will actually hear a quiet whooshing sound. That's the disk drive rotating. It's like an old LP, except it's much smaller and rotating much faster. But it's in the computer, usually somewhere on the right-hand side, on the front of the computer, but it could be anywhere, but it's usually on the right-hand side. That's this little drive, this little disk sits there running, turning at a high speed, like 6,000 revolutions per minute, very, very fast. And the information is written on there magnetically. So it's very much like the old LP, if you remember it, except an LP just had one track on it that went round and round like in a spiral with music on. This has many tracks and it's not, well, it can store music as well, but it's primarily storing information. And your computer can have many disk drives, and they start that all the disk drives are just identified by one letter, starting with C and a colon. So C colon is one disk drive. D colon could be another, all the way to Z. Now, your computer's probably got one drive, C colon. That's all you need to know. Why do we start at C? Well, in the old days, if you may, I don't know if you remember back in the early days of PCs, there were two floppy disk drives. You remember the old floppy disks? And they were the A drive and the B drive. Once the hard drives came in, as we call them hard drives, these high-speed, high-capacity drive, they started at C, and we still had the A and the B. And then, of course, a long time ago now, the floppy drives went away. They don't exist anymore, right? So, but one of those drives can be anything. It could be a hard drive. It could be a thumb drive. So imagine these little thumb drives that you get that looks like a little stick, right? And it's got a cap on it. You take the cap off and you can put it into one of the USB ports, those rectangular holes on the side of your computer or perhaps on the back of your computer. Usually these days they're on the side. The USB thumb drive plugs in, and that you can use for copying information on. It looks exactly like the disk drive to the computer. It doesn't even know it's a thumb drive, what we call a thumb drive. It doesn't have a disk in it. It's like just memory storage, right? So it's very fast. So a thumb drive, which only costs you about $10, is a great way to back up your information. And that's a good idea occasionally to copy all your photographs or your emails and so on onto a thumb drive. And then if anything went wrong with your computer or it was stolen or lost or just died because it's getting old, the thumb drive would have all your information in it. And now there's a third possible drive these days, or third place you can store information, and that's in the cloud, right? And the cloud is just a technical name, meaning you're borrowing storage from somebody else. So Google will give you free storage, Microsoft will give you free storage on their computers. Apple will give you free storage on their computers. And basically that means you're always backed up. So I just recently, my old phone died, or my new phone died. I dropped it, so got a new version. How did I get all my data back? It was all up in the cloud, stored on Google's computers. So I set up the phone. We said, copy it all back down, and it ran for 30 minutes or something because it had a lot of information, 30, 40 minutes. And it just copied it all back down from the cloud. The cloud isn't really a cloud. It's got nothing to do with those white fluffy things in the sky. It simply means you're borrowing free space. They give it to us for free, which is very nice, at Google or Microsoft or whatever, right? So just one issue you often see here, they talk about gigabytes. You've often heard, you might see, or your disk has got 32 or 60 or whatever GB, gigabytes. And a giga just means a shorthand for a billion, and a byte just is an old IBM term from the early days of computers that a byte meant one character, one small piece of information. So the letter A or the letter B or the letter C or the number 1 or the number 2 and number 3, each of those is what they call a byte, B-Y-T-E, right? Where the word came from, I don't know, but a byte is one letter, one character. So the word the, T-H-E, is 3 bytes. It would take 3 bytes to store. So, when I started in computers, you might have a few megabytes, millions of bytes on a disk. Today, your modern computer, your laptop, even your phone has got gigabytes, billions of bytes. So 1 billion bytes means 1,000 million. And that's a lot of storage, right? So your little phone has more storage on it than I could even imagine in the early days when I started in computers. Your phone's got 32 or 64 or 128 megabytes. Hello, Sabrina. Sabrina's just come in to have a look. Sure. I hope you coming in to have fun.
Hello.
I can hear you. I can see you. Right. We've got one attendee online, and Sabrina, who runs the Benson Center, has just come online. Okay, so getting back to it, we have 1 billion bytes, and so if your computer says that you have 32 gigabits or 64, that means that you have 64,000 characters you can store, 1,000 million characters that you can store, which is probably more information that you can store on one little computer than they've got in the entire Library of Congress, right? And nowadays with that cloud storage, you effectively have infinite storage, because they'll give you many gigabytes of storage, 30, 40, 60, 128 for free. And then if you really run out of that, which is unlikely, you can go and buy some more storage for them for $2 a month or something like that. You can buy it from Apple, you can buy it from Microsoft, you can buy it from Google, you can buy it from Amazon, right? All of them offer free storage in what is called the cloud, right? Most of it is free. So we should use the cloud to our advantage. So now I'm going to tell you about the Windows file system. So you've heard the word files, and a file, we know what that means on our desktop. It's one of those manila things that we keep pieces of paper in. And on the computer, we use the same word file. It's not a manila file, but it's a place on your disk, on your computer disk, whether it's a solid state disk like a thumb drive, or it's an actual rotating hard drive. Most older computers, by old, I mean 2 or 3 years, older than 2 or 3 years, have got a hard drive in. The latest generation that they've, maybe the last several years, that they've dispensed with the hard drive, and all the storage is what's called solid state, which is more expensive, but much, much, much faster, right? Much faster. It's kind of like the analogy is, I could remember something in my mind. So if you ask me my name, I'll tell you instantly, right? But we also store information in books, right? We write things down. So if I needed to know your phone number in the old days, I would have to go and get my daytimer out, my name and address list, open it up, look alphabetically down for your name, and I'd find it, and I would know your phone number. So that is like permanent storage. It'll never go away as long as I've got that book, but it takes a lot longer to get to the information. My brain is almost instantaneous, as long as I remember it. My brain's not as good as it used to be, but it's instantaneous. But it's limited. I can't store the whole of an encyclopedia in my brain. Some people can do that. I can't do that. I don't know about you. So there's a limited amount of storage, but it's very fast. So the analogy is very good for the computer. What's on the solid state drive is very fast, but quite expensive. What's on the hard drive is almost unlimited, but it's slower. Now, slow here is relative, right? It's to find any file on your computer is going to take it, a tenth of a second, but it's still many times slower than a solid state drive, which is virtually instantaneous, right? So every document you create is a file. So if you create a Word document or an email, it goes into a file. And each file can have a name. The name can be as long as you like. You can call the file whatever you want. Any number, virtually unlimited, the length of the name. That wouldn't go too long because you've got to type it out, but you can call a file anything you like. The one thing that's special in Windows, and I just want to mention it to you, you'll see very often a file, let's say the file is called, my letter to the IRS. Say I wrote a letter to the IRS and I kept it on a file. So I might have a file called letter to the IRS, November the 5th, 2020, or something like that. Or letter to somebody about something, right? Some particular topic. I might say I call the file that name. Windows will put 4 extra characters, 3 or 4 characters at the back end of the name. So that the file name will end and there'll be a period. You can see the little dot there, period. And then you might see .docx or .xls or .mpg3 or .mbg4 or .pdf. We spoke about PDF file. And that is called the extension. And that extension just tells Windows what kind of file it is. So docx is a document, a Word document. It originally was just .doc, and for some reason, several versions of Windows of Word ago, maybe 10 years ago, they brought in a new version, and now they called it docx. I don't know why. The XLS is an Excel spreadsheet, and so it can either be XLS or that mysterious X at the end, XLSX. MPG3, I don't even remember what the letters stand for, it doesn't matter, but MPG, whether it's 3 or 4, is a movie file. That's a video, right? And there are a whole lot of them. So I'm not going to waste too much time. The one thing I want to emphasize here is you can change the name of a file, you can change whatever you like, but don't mess with the extension. If you change .docx to .dacx, you change the O to an A, Windows will no longer know what program to open this file with. Docx tells Windows, this is a Word document, and it opens Word and everything works. But if you use the wrong program, if you try to open a Word document with an Excel program, it'll be gobbledygook, garbage. It won't know what's going on. It's a strange thing. This dates back to the beginning. You think that they would know that internally what the type of file is, but they chose to go like this. It's the 3 or 4 letter extension that tells it what kind of file it is. And that's all we need to know about file. Now, the important thing is that files can be stored in a folder, right? And each folder, and I'm going to show you how to create folders in a moment, each folder can have as many files in as we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100, 1,000, doesn't matter, right? You have as many files in a folder as you like. In general, I say don't put too many files in the same folder. In other words, you could put all your documents. You've got hundreds of emails and pictures and whatever. You can put them all into one folder called My Folder. That wouldn't be a good idea because that would be almost as messy as putting everything on the desktop. So create folders and subfolders. I might have a folder that says correspondence, and I've got all my letters in there and correspondence, my emails and whatever, and anything that I've done, letters that I've, copies of letters I've written to the IRS or to my doctor, to the hospital, or letters I've received or whatever. Might have a folder called correspondence. And then inside I would create more folders. So correspondence with my family, correspondence with the IRS, correspondence with my doctor or the hospital, whatever. You can have any number of folders. So much better to create more folders than fewer folders, because folders are then a logical way to group stuff together. So you wouldn't have 10 folders, each with one document in them. There's a waste of time. You might as well just have the 10 documents. But if I had 1,000 documents and I created 20 folders with different subject matter, each with say 50 documents in or 20 documents or whatever, that would be a much easier way to arrange my information on my disk and to find it easily. So we're going to see in a moment, whatever I call these folders, they're going to appear in a list in alphabetical order. No limit on the number of files. So your last thing, a file name can be anything you like. So here's a perfectly good file name on the very last line. Benson Center, Windows 10 class, section 3 of 6, and a date, right? That's a perfectly good name. You can make the name as detailed as you like. It can have spaces in it. It can have commas. It can have dashes. It just can't have some of these funny characters. You can't put a question mark in the file name, or a quote mark, or one of those slashes, or these are weird things that almost nobody's ever going to use. But certainly capital letters, small letters, spaces, dashes, commas, periods, you can have that and make it as meaningful as you like. Okay, so how do we see these files? So I've already told you how you can see the equivalent of files in the clipboard. So you actually see files on your computer in the Windows, it's called the Windows file system, and we use a program called File Explorer, right? And this allows us to see all the folders. So the Explorer icon looks like a folder, right? Yeah, you can see a list of things here, and right at the top you can see a folder, right? That says next to it, the very first line, file, or the second line really, File Explorer. And that's what we want. That's an app called File Explorer, right? So although it's got a file normally means it's data. This is the one occasion when it's an app, and that's the app that allows us to read files. And if you don't know where it is, you can click on the Start button, and in the box there, start typing File Explorer. And as you type, instantly Windows will search through its data, and the one that notice I've only typed in File Explo, and already File Explorer is at the top. How do I run File Explorer? Now, just point at it with my mouse, as I'm doing here, double click on it, and the File Explorer will open. Now, what is File Explorer? Okay, so let's start first. Here's the Windows file system. So it's showing me on my computer, you see where the three arrows are, I've got three different drives: the C drive, C:, the M:, and the P:. Three drives, and they call them local disks. They're local, they're on my computer. But if it's in the cloud, it wouldn't be a local disk, it would be a remote disk. But for our purposes, it doesn't make any difference. Normally, in most cases, you will only have one drive, the C drive. So don't have to bother. This is a fanciest thing. Okay, so when excuse me, let me go back one. So if I point at any one of these drives, you see these blue lines? Okay, so the blue line, why we got the blue line? First of all, it's telling us a whole lot of stuff. I'm just going to look at the C drive. It says underneath it, I have 55.7 gigabytes free out of 222 gigabytes. So this C drive on this computer has 222 gigabytes, right? Which is a lot of storage, 222, and then a gigabyte is 1,000 million characters. So it's 222,000 million characters. It's a gigantic amount of storage. Let's say more than probably is in the Library of Congress. Well, what the blue line is, it's showing you that about 70% has been used, and then the gray part is what's free. That's right. I've used about 170 gigabytes, and I got 55 left. It's just telling me I've used about 3/4 of the disk. So I've still actually got plenty of space on the computer. 55 gigabytes is a lot of storage, right, left. So if I click on any one of those disks, a little menu will pop up, and it says properties, right? Well, properties means tell me more about the disk, okay? And if we click on this on the drive, it'll show you some more information. I'm not going to go into the details, not important, but it again shows me how much space I've got. This time it shows it in a circle, right? So the blue part is what's used, and the gray part is what is still free. And you can see I've used about 3/4 of the 222 megabytes. Mostly, I don't care about it. When I'm done, I just looked at that. I click on OK. And now we get to the real stuff, okay? Which is I want to see the folders. So when I click on the disk drive, when I actually click on the C drive, if I double click on it, this will pop up, right? And it looks a little confusing, but again, like most things, once you know how to use it, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to go through this rapidly, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to end off. I haven't been able to complete this whole course because we had days off. Remember, we had the power failure, and we had the election. We lost the session for the election, so we're a little behind on it. I'll do as much as I can, but you will have the slides and you can work through them yourself. So basically what we see here, if you click on, so on the left, it's kind of like a main menu going down. You'll see local disk C:. Forget about all the other stuff that's there. It's irrelevant, right? Once I click on that, it'll show me right at the top. It's saying I'm on this PC, this computer, local disk C. And you'll see a whole lot of folders down the left-hand side. Can you see the folders? So the yellow folders, they sort of look like they're open folders. Each one of those is a folder. It's got information in it. So then if you look across the top, you'll see it says date modified, size, and name. And each of those folders has got a name. And files that are within folders or files that are not within folders. So at the bottom, you'll see there's three there that have got size of file. Don't worry what they are. They belong to the operating system, never touch them or anything, but they are actual files that have got a size. Folders don't have a size because it depends on how many documents are in them, right? And you can see there are all kinds of documents there. There's one called documents and setting. That's where most of my data will probably be. Then there's one called program files, right? Program files, as the name suggests, is where all the programs are. Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and all the apps are sitting in program files, right? So notice it says local disk C. Now, if I click on one of these links, so there's a folder name down at the bottom where the red arrow is. It says Windows, and that's where Windows keeps all its stuff. Now, for heaven's sake, never go into that folder and mess around with it. That's kind of like messing with the engine of your car. I never even look at Windows because we can only do damage in there. Windows should basically keep that file hidden from us. We shouldn't even know, because that's where Windows has got all its operating system programs, and how the whole thing works is in there, which we don't really need to know. But I'm just showing you the Windows, and on the left, you'll see there's a folder, and then next to it is a date. That date is the last time this was updated. So you can see that says January the 4th, 2019. So I haven't updated Windows lately. It would only get updated if there was a new version of Windows came out, which hasn't happened in the last couple of years. It might have modified it if there were updates to Windows, but other than that, we don't touch it. It stays the way it should, it's the same way. So to open a folder, all we do is double click. And I'm just going to use the Windows as an example. I double clicked on the Windows folder, and notice at the top it now says you're on this PC, your local disk C, and you've opened Windows. You can see it across the top. It's like we're going down. And inside the Windows folder is, surprise, surprise, a whole lot more folders, right? All kinds of stuff, most of which I have no idea what they are, and I don't want to mess with them. But it's interesting to see about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the bottom. There's a folder called cursors, C-U-R-S-O-R-S, not cursors, which is bad words, but cursors. And your cursor is, of course, your little arrow that moves around on the screen while you're working. And if we double clicked on that, you see it's a folder. You can see the little folder icon next to it on the left. If we clicked on that, right, that one there, see it? If we clicked on that, a new subfolder would open up. So notice at the top, we now see local disk C:, Windows, cursors, and it'll open up, and inside that is yet another folder called red cursors. So I've got a red cursor, as you can see. That's where all the cursors are. But other than that, you've got an arrow cursor and a all different kinds of cursors. And the extension you can see on the file is .cur, .cursor. Different kind. That's what Windows have chosen for the names of the files with cursors. We never want to mess with this. If you mess with it, your mouse won't work, or your cursors won't be, you won't be able to see it. I'm just using this as an example for you. In real life, we would probably see, .docx there, my Windows documents, and I might see emails, I might see movie files. I could see JPG files, JPEG they call them. Those are picture files. So if you've taken photographs and you've stored them on your computer, they will generally be JPG files or something like that. Okay, you can see we're on local disk. That's the drive. The main folder is Windows. The subfolder is cursors, and then there's some files there. And the very first one is another directory, red cursor. So you can have as many subdirectories as you like within the directories. Windows is perfectly okay with that. And so you can always go down as many levels as you like, right? And so they call this the folder tree. And this is the last thing I'll say. Okay, so we can see across the top here, it says we're in this PC, local disk, the C:, Windows, cursors. If I want to go back up the tree from cursors back to Windows, you'll see just to the left on that same line, there's an up arrow. Here it is, an up arrow. If I click on that up arrow, it'll go up one level, go back to Windows. And if I click on it again, it'll go out of Windows and it'll take me back to the local drive, the highest level, right? So you can see you can come down as many levels as you like, and you can go back up as easy as you want, right? And here's all the information. Normally the date modified is meaningless to you. The only thing I might be interested in is the size of the file. So you've got a file there and it says the very first file says 130 on the right. It says 134 KB. Well, KB is not gigabytes, but kilobytes, which just means 1,000. That's 134,000 bytes, so a relatively small file. Because today we start talking about files of megabytes and gigabytes inside. 134,000 megabytes, KB, kilo, is relatively small. Mostly we don't care, right? Because Windows takes care of that for us. Okay. Let's do this last thing and then we're going to stop. Question everybody asks me is, how do I create a folder? How do I get it in the first place? So it's really very simple. Here I am. Let's say I was in that Windows cursors folder. Anywhere I like, I just click, right click. See, it says over here, right click anywhere on the page. And when we right click, remember I told you, right click always opens a new sub menu or a little menu, more information you can do. So if I can right click anywhere, this little menu just pops open, right? Just like the clipboard pops open when I press the Windows key and the letter V. Here it's just a right click and you'll see it's got a whole lot of things. I can sort them, you know, I can sort the files. I can show them alphabetically or the oldest files first, the newest ones last, or the other way around, whatever I want. I'm not going to bother with that. Very seldom need to change that. It's normal. The files are typically in alphabetic order, which is the best one we want. But down at the bottom, you'll see there's an option that says new. And if I click on it, this little sub menu opens up, says folder. Just click on folder, right? Because there's no other options, in fact, right? Click on it. And a little box will open like this, right at the bottom of all the file, new folder. So Windows is going to call it new folder because I don't know what you want to call it, right? And if you have another one, it'll be new folder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want things called new folders. I want my folders to be called by my name. And so here, rationally, logically, the way I do that is I just point at them in that little box, put my cursor in the little box where it says new folder, and type over that name new folder. And I can call it, for example, Benson Notes on Windows 2019. January 31, right? Or whatever I want to call it. See that? I just typed that in and now I've got a new folder. I purposely left a new folder above there, right? So that's one that I forgot to type the name in. So either I don't want it, I should just delete it, or I need to change the name. And how do I change the name? I just point at the new folder, the words new folder, click, and that little menu will right click and that little menu will open up and allow me to change that. I can then retype new folder, or I can delete the folder, right? And the way I delete it is I just pointed it and press the delete key, right? Windows will then say to me, are you sure you know what you're doing? Do you want to delete this folder? You say yes, and it's gone. Simple as that. So I could say suggestions on folder names. You should give them full name. Let's say you're writing your autobiography. the story of my life, chapter 4, and a date. That's a good way to name a file, right? Now I might have chapter 4, I might have chapter 5, I might have chapter 6, whatever I like. I can call the files anything I like. They are going to be in alphabetic order. So just name it in such a way that you can easily find it. And there's also a way to search. Windows will allow you to search on file. I can't remember what I called this file. Well, it's called Benson Center Windows Class Notes. If I type Windows Class Notes into the search, it will find this file, even though Windows Class Notes is not at the beginning, right? I called it Benson Center Windows Class Notes. And so, but it will find it by any word, anywhere in that name, right? It will find, you can type it in and it will find it for you, right? And like I said, yes, you change the name. So you just, again, right click on the name, right? If I want to change the name, and you see, instead of delete, be careful here. They shouldn't have put delete right next to rename because it's easy to type hit the wrong one. But if you press, so right click on the name, the little menu pops up. You can type rename and it'll allow you to overtype the name. You can correct a spelling error or change the name completely. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. So we really know how our keyboard works now. We've got you should by now have a lot of information on the keyboard. You can see there, I want to rename the file. It immediately makes the name white on blue. And I can now put my cursor anywhere. Let's say I want to delete the word notes. Just put my cursor at the end of notes, at the end of the word notes, and press the backspace key, and it'll backspace out NOTES, backspace 5 or 6 what's this? 6 characters, 5 characters, and the word notes is gone, or correct a misspelling because I spelled it in NATES, fat fingering, you correct the spelling. So that's it. So we now know we've got a lot of useful ideas how to use your keyboard, how to copy information, very, very useful, and how to name folders, create folders, delete folders. So you can put any file you like. So when you've typed a Word document and you want to save it, you can save it into that folder. So you just tell Windows, that folder that I just created there called Benson Notes on Windows, blah, blah, blah. I want to save the file into there. And whatever I call the file name, Windows will put it into that folder. And then I can have another file, another document that goes in that folder, and another document, and so on. You can see it's really, really easy to understand what's going on. Okay, so there we go. So it's a great idea. Question there, you said, how do I make these subfolders? Well, when you're in a folder, do exactly the same thing. So if I'm in this folder here I'm in this folder, right click, that little menu pops up. The one option is new folder. So you click new, name the folder, and now you can have a folder called recipes. And then within that, you can have a folder called desserts, casserole, chicken, blah, 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 right. To get, in one of the, you say to get, no, you won't, well, the free stuff you get from Microsoft is Microsoft Word. So that was in the Word class. And I think when we run the Word class again, or if you want to do it if you need more information on the Word class, you can send me an email and I'll tell you how to get it. But there is a free version of, or not only Word, Microsoft Office is available on the cloud, on the internet. So you actually run it in your browser, and I can show you how to do that. That's not on this course. Windows 10 is the operating system which runs the computer. Word is Office. It's a whole series of programs, one of which is Word and one of which is Excel, which do specific functions. And so I can teach you that separately, or you can wait until I'm going to rerun all of these courses, because this session has been a bit discombobulated because of the power failure and the election, and just it's and the fact that people couldn't get in. I mean, really, normally you have 15 people in a class. I've been very lucky to have you alone in the last several classes. You had private tuition because other people couldn't figure out how to get into the class. So I'm going to run them again. And in the Word class, the Microsoft Word class, I'll show you how to get the free version. But it doesn't really apply to this course. Does that answer your question? All right, I think I'll end up there. This is a good time to stop. You've got the notes, so go ahead. We don't have enough time to finish this because it's been a slightly, as I said, discombobulated session. But I will repeat everything we've done and go into more detail when we run the course next time when we've got 4 full sessions. Don't hesitate to send me an email if there are any questions that you want. But like I said, the free version of Microsoft Word will be described in the next time we do Microsoft Word. My pleasure. Bye.